students. I wanted to continue with the chords, the open chords lesson from the last lesson. Gonna be using this beautiful Gretsch resonator, aka Dobro. Although technically Dobro is a brand, but many of us call it that. All right, so today's lesson we are gonna be talking about the chords I just demonstrated. It's gonna be on the key of G, and the chords are G, C, and D. Now, if you saw my other lesson about basic open chords, that was in the key of D, and you'll see that two of the chords are the same. It's D and G, so they are part of both keys, but I'm gonna explain them again anyway in case you're doing this lesson before the other. I'll link up the other one in the description anyway. All right, let's zoom in and break it down. All right, so the first chord is the G chord, and you'll remember that one from the other lesson if you did that lesson. Now it's gonna be index finger on the fifth string, second fret, middle finger on the sixth string, third fret, and then you can do it with this finger here on the first string, third fret, and that's still a G chord. But most of the time we end up doing it like this with the pinky here and the ring finger on the third fret, first and second string. All right, that's your G chord right there. And then the second chord, which it's a new one on this channel, we didn't cover this one on previous lesson, it's gonna be the C chord. And the way to do it, it's first finger is gonna be on the first fret, second string, second finger is gonna be on the fourth string on the second fret, and the third finger is gonna be on the third fret in the fifth string. All right, remember, keep the fingers low, close to the lower part of the fret, not up here, but at least in the middle of the fret, if not a little closer to the lower part. And your main bass note, your root note, is gonna be the fifth string here, as the root note for the G chord was here on the sixth. All right. And then we have the D chord. All right, it's gonna be first finger on the second fret, third string, second finger on the second fret, first string, and the ring finger on the second string, third fret. All right, to make a little triangle, which is the shape of the D chord. And your main bass, your root note, is going to be the fourth string open. All right, beautiful sound. Okay, and also since the D is the dominant chord for this key, for the key of G, then we're gonna learn the seventh chord as well, which is the dominant chord. And in another lesson, we'll talk about what dominant, subdominant means. But basically means that these chords I'm showing you are, you could say, the most important chords in that key. And the other chords are like interesting ways of getting around going to the most important degrees of the scale, which are the 1, the 4, and the 5. All right, so D7, that dominant chord, which is the fifth degree of the scale, is going to be open. This is your main bass, your root note, the fourth string open. And then you're going to have the second finger, third string, second fret, ring finger on the first string, second fret also, and the index here on the second string, first fret. Now remember, if you're very new at this, practice both ways. Practice with just downstrum 4 times, and change into the next one. You can do the D7 too. All right, and also practice with the finger picking pattern that we demonstrated in one of the previous lessons. If you don't know the ballad finger picking or the ballad arpeggio, then I'll link that lesson in the description as well. All right, again, there's no limit to how slow you can practice this. If you need to practice at this speed, there's nothing wrong with that. Or you can practice it even slower than that. Okay, there's no rules that say that you have to practice at a certain speed, except that that speed needs to be slow. Okay, you need to practice slow to make the most progress. And once you can play it perfectly slow, then increase little by little the speed. And that advice applies for any instrument that you're studying, not only for guitar. Again, remember, it's okay if your thumb sticks out a little bit here, but just don't let it go wild, because you don't want to be crowding the fretboard. Like, you don't want to be pressing your hand against the fretboard like that. You want to leave a little room here and just play with your fingers, not with your whole hand. All right, so keep that in mind. I normally have my thumb sticking out a little bit. Sometimes it's all the way back, depending what I'm trying to do. And most I think all the time it's very close to the index finger, around where the index is, even if I'm not using the index finger at that moment. All right, guys, that's it for today. We learned four different chords today, including the D7. I hope you find it interesting and useful. One more thing, with these three chords, or the ones for the other lesson, the ones in the key of D, you can already start coming up with your own songs. If that is something that it's interesting to you or something you want to get into, you can start writing your own songs with three chords. There are a million beautiful songs out there that only use three chords, and I mean these very same chords that we learned in these past two lessons. Okay, so really there's nothing keeping you on your journey to becoming a songwriter, if that's the path that you have decided to take. All right, guys, I'll see you in the jam now.